Hey, Sox fans, welcome to Good Guys Talk Back. This is episode 202. We are in season 5. I am Nick Murawski, and you can find this Chicago White Sox podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcasts. We've got a YouTube channel, which hopefully you're watching this episode on that channel. If you are listening to the audio after, you can subscribe to this channel and watch us on Sunday nights. We're on Twitter at Good Guys TB. Got a lot of stuff to get to, some tough stuff to handle at the beginning, but a lot of other White Sox stuff to chop up here. Pat Hester, my co-host, welcome, sir, to episode 202.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk tonight. Obviously, a little bit rough to start our conversation. Breaking news as we're going to jump into with Liam Hendriks. So, there's always, people always ask me, what are you guys talking about on a Sox podcast in January? There's never a shortage of stories, and we're going to jump into it today.
Yeah, not the way you want to start an episode. You want to start a conversation. You want to start anything revolving around any team, anybody. But this was it. Just a couple hours ago, the White Sox put this out, through their social media page. Liam Hendriks put it out on his Instagram page. Hendriks made an announcement. He's been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I've got his statement, and I've got what the White Sox said. We really don't have a ton of information, but this is from Hendriks's Instagram page. Hearing the word cancer came as a shock to my wife and I, as it does to millions of families each year. However, I am resolved to embrace the fight and overcome this new challenge with the same determination I have used when facing other obstacles in my life. My treatment begins tomorrow. That would be Monday, January 9th. And I am confident that I will make a full recovery and be back on the mound as soon as possible. I know with the support of my wife, my family, my teammates, and the Chicago White Sox organization, along with the treatment and care from my doctors, I will get through this. And General Manager Rick Hahn released a statement shortly after. Our thoughts and reactions at this time are for Liam, the person, not Liam, the baseball player. I know the entire Chicago White Sox organization, our staff, his teammates, and certainly White Sox fans will rally in support of Liam and Christy during the coming months. Knowing everyone involved, especially Liam, we are optimistic he will pitch again for the White Sox as soon as viable. In the meantime, we will all do everything in our power to support our teammate and his family as they face this challenge, while also respecting their privacy. Hahn went on to say the White Sox don't expect to have any updates on Hendriks's playing status before opening day. And we are just also days away from the 2-year anniversary when Liam Hendriks signed that big contract with the Chicago White Sox. So really difficult stuff. Thoughts, prayers to Liam Hendriks's family. Obviously a fan favorite, dynamic closer for the White Sox. But as the report, as the statement said, not thinking about him as a player, but just as a human being and what is going to be what he's got on his plate right now with him and his family. Thinking about him, Pat.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, thoughts and prayers to the Hendriks family. And, all Liam has done since he's got here, not only has been fantastic on the field, but he's been fantastic off the field. He's been an advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion. He's been, forefront in charity and been, in the community on the South Side, giving back to that area. And he's just been a fantastic teammate and person in the clubhouse, out of the clubhouse, mentor. I'm sure there are things in the clubhouse, maybe some people that aren't big fans of Liam Hendriks, but from a fan perspective, there's a lot to like there. And we're going to miss that as fans, not seeing him. I would imagine he's not going to be very much available, for the foreseeable future. I don't want to put labels on anything, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery and this thing gets, taken care of. But yeah, it's an unfortunate thing. Again, a good guy, and you hate to see this kind of stuff happen. And I like the fact that, you talked about using his platform and his celebrity to talk about issues, and he thought it was an opportunity to talk about, his own personal issue and bring light to, cancer. And I'm sure it'll be brought to light of, making sure you're getting yourself checked and things like that. So it's important, it's important to continue to talk about those types of things, because catching these types of things early obviously is very important. Cancer is, treatable, as when you catch it early, and hopefully it's something it's very treatable for him, and can be put, well behind him at some point.
Yeah, I don't expect, as the Sox said, updates. I don't think we're going to be getting anything as these days and weeks roll in. Pitchers and catchers usually report right around Valentine's Day, which could be the day after the Super Bowl. Again, that is not on anybody's thoughts right now. It's what he's about to embark on. Monday the treatment begins, and just hoping for the absolute best. Just an unbelievable person, and what he has meant to the organization, again, in just around these 2 years that he's been with the Sox. So, Pat, tough to transition out of that. But to your earlier point at the beginning of this episode, usually, yeah, I mean, it's quiet. Januaries are kind of quiet, but we did have, something that officially happened. It felt like it happened already. We did a whole episode on Andrew Benintendi coming to the White Sox. That was mid-December. Big news. Sox weren't going to throw money at problems. There was a huge problem. It was called left field, and they decided to sign a left fielder to play left field, which I think is smart. It's a good idea.
If you owned a team, you'd say, I'd like to sign players that play the positions that are available on the field. Is that the way to go?
Is that right? Is that okay? Should I be doing something like that? Just trying to get the ball rolling here. Kind of new to everything. So yeah, we've got him in left field. Huge contract given to him in terms of like White Sox money, but in the grand scheme of things, these are things that the Sox should be doing on a regular basis. Premium money for premium talent. He's got some, injury issues. Can he return to accustomed levels, which joined the list of players that Rick Hahn and company would like to see returning to accustomed levels? But nothing was able to be officially talked about, of course, because the signing wasn't official. And, I mentioned it on the Locked On Sox podcast last week. And you and I have talked about this at times. Remember when there was no social media and you found out when deals broke on the, ESPN bottom line scroll. And the one that always, for some reason, hits me is the Billy Koch signing. And I saw that, and I think
Why do you always have to bring me down?
Goodness
gracious.
Well, it was big though. When that happened,
Yeah.
that was like monumental. Like, what are you talking about here? The Sox and Billy, like he was a coveted reliever. And I think I called you at work. We were in college. You were working at the bowling alley.
Oh yes, my illustrious years at Joliet Town and Country
Legendary.
Lanes. Yes,
legendary.
Many years as a pin monkey.
Yeah, and so that's how you found out about that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, unless you were in the know or really in the know or connected somehow, that there were some whispers of a deal going on. So we had known this thing broke, but it came official, and we got statements from everybody, and I'm sure folks listening, and good luck trying to find the press conference. That was hilarious. Like you had to just find it online and different, whatever they were going to give you. It wasn't live at all. And you heard from Benintendi, and Hahn had a statement, and Grifol was there. Did you happen to listen to this or read any of it from it?
I missed it. I know a lot of folks were.
You're not the only one.
Itchy and scratchy about, why hasn't this been announced yet? But they said they weren't doing anything. They weren't doing the physical or doing anything until after the new year. So these things take a little bit of time. It's still the holiday season. I wasn't getting, concerned. I don't know if you were, but I guess I could understand why people would after you saw what happened with Correa and his, missteps and failing physicals and things like that. So I guess you could see why people would get concerned. But I personally did. I've had some other things going on in personal life that I kind of missed it. But I'm glad to see that's kind of put to bed. But it's unfortunate. It's just the one the one thing, right?
Yeah.
We always want more. So yeah, bring me up to speed, Nick Murawski, on what were the highlights and how did you have to find it? Did you have to put like the rabbit ears up on the top of the house or?
No, you had to, well, you, you had to subscribe to these different, websites, and they gave you different codes that you'd have to put in. And then, 45 minutes later, you were able to get some of the sound that you had to put through an app that deciphered what the audio was.
Mhm.
So it was a whole thing. Thankfully, NBC Sports Chicago was kind enough to do all that legwork for us, and they put those snippets out on their website, and they chunked them up. It was interesting to me to hear that, I guess not terribly interesting because we kind of know the backstory that the White Sox have loved Andrew Benintendi since, his draft 7+ years ago or whatever. And Hahn made reference to that of like, we've been chasing you for 7.5 years, which is so funny to me because that's
Yeah.
the old saying of the White
The White
Sox will
Sox way.
always, the White Sox way, they will always get their man eventually. But what I found interesting is day one, Benintendi said day one of free agency, there were conversations going on. And
Mhm.
he really appreciated the fact that they reached out and they were interested from the get-go. And it was a feeling of, I want to be with an organization that's interested in me.
Mhm.
So that was a takeaway. Pedro Grifol plays a role in this, which
Yeah.
I assumed, several weeks ago. It's like, well, we think Tony La Russa maybe had a wish list of here's how I want things to go, and the big reliever arms that Hendricks and Graveman eventually, and the huge trade deadline acquisition of Jake Diekman, and they bolstered their bullpen.
Sometimes you're just so funny when you're not
Oh,
trying to be funny. I know you're
well,
trying to be funny when you
I
bring up a Diekman
it
as a
was just such
huge
a
acquisition.
fantastic move. It really, we're gonna love that. Joe Kelly, another great arm
Yeah.
that was added. I don't know if those were Larussa's wishes, but Larussa loves a good bullpen, loves the closer role. And did Pedro Grifol have a wish list? Did he have guys that he was really interested in? And apparently, according to the some of the articles and whatever that came out from this Benintendi presser, that the Sox said something to Grifol, like after a couple meetings with Grifol, like, hey, what do you think of Benintendi? And Grifol's like, well, you're bringing it up. I'm not bringing it up. I think he'd be great. He's going to check all the boxes. He'd be perfect for this team. And then there's the Kansas City Royals connection, and
Yeah.
Benintendi's like, yeah, we didn't have a ton of time, playing together. I wasn't in the Royals organization for a season and a half, but that was good enough for me, And
Yeah.
then you got Eddie Rodriguez, the new third base coach, and Tosar involved as like the third hitting coach. A lot of Royals representation. So again, I think there is something to say about the management. Like, what manager you bring in, that can affect how free agency goes.
Yeah, no, so, there's no doubt about that, Nick. There's philosophies and more than one way to skin a cat. But I like the fact that we're trying to get better in the outfield, and I like the fact that we're trying to get a little bit more athletic in the outfield, cover a little bit more ground, and not be so horrid defensively. So you can do that with a Benintendi and left field. Now let's address other positions on the field. I hope that there's a second base wish list. I hope that there's some type of, thoughts about right field. I don't know that I have a ton of confidence until we get to spring training that those positions are really decided at this point, right? I mean,
Mm,
without any kind of, there's rumors out there, I guess, for
yeah.
second base, and we're going to dive into those. But boy, I just don't know if I want to go into the season with this uncertainty, if you will.
If things, you're bringing up some great points, and I do want to talk about the Crochet Torres rumor, and some other folks that are out there, Escobar, and here's a name, Whit Merrifield. Does he
Hmm.
do anything? Does he get you excited in any type of way?
I'll take a solid, reliable ball player in a Whit Merrifield over an unknown and a guy trying to make a roster. right?
Mm.
Like I can kind of go to the bank on what I'm going to get from a Whit Merrifield. Does that make sense? I
Yeah,
feel more
sure.
comfortable. It doesn't blow my socks off.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you can't bring in a Romy Gonzalez and other guys in to compete for that position, right? Or other positions. But to me, it just, I feel more comfortable with guys that I can say, I kind of know what I'm going to get out of this guy here, even though we've got a list of guys that, we're well below and we're talking about this return to form year.
Mm.
But I'll take that if that's what I'm going to be given, right, Nick? Because this organization is not going to go blow your doors off with this signing or that signing. I'll go, okay, I can plunk down a Whit Merrifield. I know what I'm going to. I don't have his slash line in front of me, but he's going to be a solid player for you.
We saw enough of him in the
Yeah.
Kansas City Royals organization. He tormented the Sox. I wouldn't say he's up there in the Jose Ramirez world or
Mm-hmm.
the Mike Sweeney department or some of the other Sox killers, but he was up there. He seemed to do damage, have good games against the White Sox. Again, he's not going to put the Sox in the AL elite conversation. That's for sure. But I think to your point of you shouldn't be done. The Sox shouldn't be done. They need to address second base. And they need to really, I would love for them to lock up right field. Now, the way things are trending, it's, Oscar Colas, maybe Gavin Sheets out there and right, and internally at second base. Now, could that change? Absolutely. Han in his typical Han speak way from the presser, we're not done. This team could look very different, all the way up until March 30th. We're always looking to get better. If you want to believe that, if you want to believe him, those are the things that he is saying. Now, Toronto, they have infielders, and there are teams that have infielders that they don't maybe know what to do with. It's just
Mm-hmm.
what do the Sox have at this point? And the Mets are another interesting situation. If the Carlos Correa thing does go through and that actually happens, well, then you got like a guy like Escobar that maybe he's kind of on the, like he's more of a super utility guy, and maybe they're looking to move him. They just bring in Danny Mendick for $1 million. So they got that going for them. Would the Sox entertain trying to bring back Escobar to compete in that infield role? Again, what do the Sox have at this point where we can get a deal done? If you're telling me like we're going to roll into Houston and Romy Gonzalez is going to be your starting second baseman, okay, that's a choice. You guys made that choice while sitting around talking about second base for another off season, and you want to go young, and maybe there's a competition, and maybe it is Lenyn Sosa. He didn't impress anybody with his cup of coffee with the White Sox, but it was a cup of coffee. I mean, you can't even really say much about even,
especially under the manager he was playing.
Oh,
for
dear
at the time,
Lord. The way La Russa was trying to not use him, it was almost like he was offended that Lenyn Sosa is up in a White Sox uniform. Like, you're going to have to earn your playing time, son. It's like, no, he's up here to get playing time. Like, this isn't like, what's the game here? Were you not in on the meeting? Did no one give you the notes of how this was supposed to go? It was really bizarre. So yeah, the Sox have to get better if they're going to be serious. Now, again, I keep thinking sometimes like, oh, did the Sox play down to their competition in the AL Central? Do they look around and they're like, I think we can still skate by here with what we're facing and dealing with. We don't need to be in the AL elite conversation. That's ridiculous. I think we can win this division with having one of our internal guys. I don't know.
Well, if you're talking about making moves, so you mentioned what do the Sox have in terms of making a move now? And it's interesting because, the one guy that got thrown around and his name has been thrown around is Garrett Crochet, which is an interesting prospect. Now, Crochet injury was, basically a flamethrower, throwing over 100 miles an hour. He'd come in for an inning and get three strikeouts. Comes in the next year, not throwing quite as hard, and then he goes down with an injury. Is he going to return to form in terms of what he was pre Tommy John, I
Yep.
would suspect it's not going to be close to over 100 miles an hour every time
Sure.
he's out there,
Yeah.
or even at that elite level. So is it to the point also where you've got to teach him how to pitch? It's like, okay, and he started it. You remember, he didn't start playing baseball until I believe he was in college, if memory serves. So
No,
it
I don't
wasn't like
know.
he's
Hmm.
so it's not like he's had a lot of time to, learn the art of pitching. So you're going to be teaching this guy how to pitch with less stuff now at this level. Okay, a lot of talent in that arm, and I'd love to see it pan out. But if there are people out there interested in looking at him as a high ceiling type of guy, I wouldn't be opposed to moving him if you need to address a need. But Nick, it does weaken you in an area in which now you're going to be really thin
Yeah.
because you're going to be without your all-star and closer and
Hmm.
Liam Hendricks for a while. Now, again, I don't want to be crass here because the
Sure.
news just
No.
broke.
Yeah.
But it's a reality that we're going to be without a reliever, and now it changes the way you look at your dynamic with your bullpen. And can you depend on guys now to move into roles? You're now depending on Graveman probably to move into that closer role, but you can't depend on him on a night in, night out basis. It's an every other night type of thing. So can you afford to lose a Garrett Crochet to fill the second base role? If that's your big chip, because it was Crochet and really Hendricks was your other chip that you felt like you could move, and
Yeah.
now you can't move one of them, and you really need all the arms you can get. So
Yeah.
and again, I don't want to be very sensitive to Liam's condition right now, but that's just the reality of the business of sports right now. Is you're kind of like caught in a weird spot with this. So I don't know
Yeah.
which way you go.
No, I hear you. This all pales in comparison to obviously the bigger picture with Liam just getting is the human being just getting healthy, and that's first and foremost. But his name has been tossed around in different trade scenarios. The Mets have kicked the tires to see, what's out there. I think Toronto actually has kind of
Mm,
inquired, and which has been interesting because Toronto, I think, was maybe a runner up to the Sox in January 2021. And you would assume that Hendricks would bring back the most return. If
mhm.
you're looking at Giolito as another name that has been mentioned, but the Crochet thing came around this past weekend. I think Bruce Levine might have mentioned it on 670 The Score. Several weeks ago on MLB Network, there was a proposed trade of Crochet and Hendricks for Gleyber Torres for the Yankees, which is absolutely insane. And if you happen to, which nobody really wants to, they'll go on to Yankee fan boards and they will read what the Yankees are saying about this. And the Yankees are like, bring it on. That would be ridiculous. Here, take Torres. We'll pack his
Yeah,
bags and send him to you.
yeah,
I don't think they're terribly high on him or the fact that he is going to return to accustomed levels. He's got a couple more years under his contract. Crochet's pretty controllable, but it's that age old, question of do you trade somebody with a ton of question marks, which is Crochet before the cat's out of the bag, maybe maybe the
yeah.
cat's already out of the bag because the injury, and maybe other teams are like, we don't know
Mhm.
what we're getting, but we're willing to risk it because we want to offload Gleyber Torres or whoever.
Well,
um
if you're already rich with infielders, and it's like we have a need for a lefty, type of guy that can come in for, the inning or the three outs, to just blow the ball past the guy. We know the upside with this guy. We've seen it. Tommy John, normally guys come back even stronger after that. I don't
mhm.
know what'll happen with Garrett or not, but if you're rich with infielders and you can expend one of them, and that's what it's going to cost you to get one of these types of guys, then maybe you roll the dice on it.
Well, what if Crochet is just under the watchful eye this season, like a Kopech kind of was, where you don't even know, am I going to get everything from Crochet?
Mhm.
And it's not a lost year, of course, because he's going to be building himself back up and he's going to be back and getting, the confidence back up, and he's going to be put in all different kinds of different situations. But if you're saying as an organization, like, we can, a guy like Gleyber Torres can really give us the pop we need. Now, granted, he's not a left-handed bat, but he's a veteran infielder,
Yeah.
and we could really. This makes us better. The issue though is the balance in the bullpen. You are sacrificing a dynamite lefty that we're assuming is going to, be able to pitch an X amount of innings in 2023. Like, he is going to come into spring training most likely healthy, ready to go. That's tough to give up that type of lefty. Think about the moments where you wished we had Crochet in the bullpen this past season, and again, in all sensitive and all, respect, if Hendricks is not an option, then you have to rethink, these deals that you're going to be potentially, working on. But if it's Crochet for Torres, I don't know. Do you do that? Did the Yankees do that? Does that make sense?
I don't know if it. I don't know who blinks at that and goes, that doesn't make sense. I don't know if I'm the Yankees, if Crochet is enough, just because of the unknown. Right. And if I'm the Yankees, I'm looking at
I've got a name. I've got a name for you then.
Okay.
I would say, excuse me, Cashman, excuse me, New York. Have you heard about this gentleman? He is a super utility guy. His name is Lurie Garcia. Some people call him the legend around here on the South Side. He's been a long tenured, and he can play all kinds. He's a Swiss Army knife. Just call Rusha. He'll tell you. And we can send him and some monies. And how about that?
Some monies. Yes. Many monies. Yes.
Many monies.
Nick, if that's the case, sign me up. I'll be buying the billboard, right?
Okay.
I'll buy the billboard that's, right after the sell a team billboard comes down. I'll be the Trey Leary to New York billboard buying.
I love that you're going to fund that on your own.
That's
so you. Yes. That is so you.
What else do I have to use all my many monies on?
Exactly. I know New York has options, but you lose an infielder, you might want to get somebody back.
Not just an infielder, but
right. I'm sorry.
Really
thank you for
below average outfielder,
and
all three outfield spots below average.
Yeah.
So why not have that? If you're asking me if I do that for me as a fan, yes, I make that move because, too many times I think Chicago teams, especially Jerry Reinsdorf owned teams, fall in love with their assets, right? And you're unable to progress forward because you're afraid of losing. They're afraid of the unknown. And I could completely understand when you look back and you go, boy, we really did a stupid thing with Fernando Tatis. Now, obviously, Tatis this past year didn't have the best year with being suspended for most of it. But you look at those types of things like, oh my gosh, what if we have another one of those on our hands? But you can't be paralyzed by things like that have happened in the past to make decisions for today. So if you can make your ball club better, and you have a guy like a Gleyber Torres that in theory could be to make your ball club stronger, and it means spending a little bit in terms of spending the asset, and a lefty arm that has a ton of talent, but again, not really a pitcher. He's more of a flamethrower, throw it past the guy, and if he doesn't have his great location, he's going to get beat because guys can catch up to 100-mile-an-hour fastball. So I would make the move, Nick, because I think the need at second base is greater than what you have in the bullpen. Because again, my theory on bullpens is you can always find a bullpen guy. Bullpen guys are finicky, and you never know what you have really from year to year. It means, though, if you do that, guys like a Ronaldo Lopez, guys like an Aaron Bummer, guys like, I think Joe Kelly's still going to be with the club this year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure is.
And obviously, as I mentioned before, Kendall Graveman are going to have, a more important role than they had last year. So, and they've got to perform. Right. And getting back to a custom levels, Joe Kelly, I need you to find that curveball and not, throw it 90 or 40 feet every time.
I wouldn't hold your breath on Joe Kelly, but we'll be positive. We'll be positive in 2023 here. How about the fact that Crochet wants to start? That's a dream. And we have 0 left-handed starters right now.
Well,
0 balance in the starting rotation.
And it's not happening now.
No,
That's not
of course,
happening
no,
this
it will
year. So
not. No.
it's a long play. You go to the Chris Sale plan of like a 70 to 85 innings this year to try and build up the arm to start in 2024. I don't know. We're trying to win now, Nick. Really. I mean, people talk about this window has already closed. I don't necessarily believe that. I believe the window's open for, yeah, as long as this young core is still, together. I'd like to see what they can do together before I say this window's really officially closed.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a compelling argument. It really is. And I don't know. It might not just be New York. Maybe there's some other teams that are interested in Crochet. Now, the thing with the Benintendi contract, it seems to be like backloaded. Like I think we're saving some money right now, which is interesting. Because there's not a lot. There are some
Mhm.
guys out there if you wanted to spend some money. I know you got Adam Duvall that's still out there as an outfield option. In terms of infielders, it's a reunion. It's Elvis
Mhm.
Andros or Josh Harrison. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, do you just say, "Come on, Josh, come on back," or Elvis, what do you think? Let's run this back here.
I would roll back with Elvis. I mean, we had in the short sample size, we got a lot more out of Elvis Andrews. Again, going to second base rather than shortstop. But I'll take that over, a Josh Harrison who was, for the most of the year on skates at second base, falling on
Mm.
his ass, and really didn't provide what I thought he would offensively. Just didn't really provide much of anything. So I've seen that movie before, Nick. I don't really need to buy a ticket to that again.
It might come down to it though. Like at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it just be like, wow, all of our trades kind of fell through. The market didn't open up for how we wanted it to, and he's still out there, and we want to be better. Does he make your team better? I mean, does he? I don't know, but I love the competition. That's the thing. I love the competition. Why not? Why
Yeah.
not get him in there and compete at second base? The thing that I worry about is the revolving door at second base throughout the season. If they're gonna be trying people out and moving people around, that was an issue last year for sure. Is all so many different rosters and lineups, and I get it. There were injuries that played a role in that, but there were stretches where we could have gotten some consistency, and I just didn't think it was happening. Matchups were being tried, and I need my shortstop and my second baseman, to get in tandem and strength down the middle, and some consistency. So like whoever you're going to go with it out of spring training. I'm all for the competition, but like make a choice and like let's run with it then.
I would love to see more consistent lineups and guys in their consistent positions the majority of the year rather than this, I don't know, like this new fad of moving guys all over the field and being more diverse. I guess I could understand why that could be a benefit to you down the line, but I just think, guys, athletes are very regimented in how they do things. It's like, tell me where I'm going to be in the lineup, where I'm going to play every day, and I don't have to think about that much. And all I need to do is come in ready to play and get ready for the game. And I'll play other positions out of necessity if a guy goes down or we need to move things. But boy, oh boy, I really hope Pedro's more on the mind of, set it and forget it. Did you ever have one of those things, by the way? One of those roasters, the set it and forget it roaster?
No, as a
Oh, they're
child or as
fantastic.
a as
No,
someone.
as an adult.
Oh,
Do
I
you ever
see.
see those infomercials to set it and forget it? You could do like a whole ham in there and you click the button and you'd set it and forget it, Nick, and then you'd have a
What's the difference
fantastic
between
meal.
a set it and forget it and just a crock pot? Is
No,
it
it's
just
not
a
a crock
brand?
pot. It's a rotisserie thing.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I'll
On a
make you
s
a meal. I have
Oh,
one.
okay.
I got to
This will be a
spit.
real treat.
Yeah. I haven't used it in 15 years, but
Is there a way can we bring it to a tailgate if we had like a good
well, if
guys
we had
talk back tailgate?
electricity,
Well, if we
yes,
yeah, so if we figured that out and you
we
just
just
brought
have
your
to bring a
set and forget it,
generator.
that's great. I want you to bring
We'll fire up the
if somebody
generator.
has a ability for us to use a generator, Pat's going to bring a set it and forget it. And early in the season, we're going to do like an April Friday or Saturday game, tailgate. We'll do a big tailgate and we'll get some rotisserie chicken, just some good comfort food for those
Yeah.
cold days.
So we'll set it for when we go into the game. And by the time we get out of the game, we're going to have
Right.
a fantastic
It is going to
rotisserie
be a real
chicken.
treat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That sounds
Anyway, I
good.
forgot where we were at.
Well,
with
I'll
that,
tell you, you're talking about, guys that want to step up and they want to do good by the team. And that was an Andrew Vaughn over, last year. And, hey, whatever you need, whatever the ball club needs, which, come on, he doesn't mean that, right? He wants to be a natural first baseman. He is a natural first baseman. That's what he wants to play. And he's going to get that opportunity. Well, with Benintendi in left field, I think we all collectively, I think I could speak for a lot of Sox fans. I think you and I for sure. Nice, we breathe a sigh of relief. Don't have to worry about the Eloy Jimenez. Will he, won't he in left field anymore? We've got our left fielder. We saw what he was able to do as a designated hitter towards the end of this past season. Sure, he can get hit or hurt running around the base paths. Why not, right? That's been the White Sox way. Let's assume health. Let's assume return to accustomed levels. Optimism in 2023. You're our DH. You're going to hit 40-plus bombs and 90 to 100 RBIs, and you're going to be a beast. Okay, that's all well and good. Now, I'm hearing in this press conference what comes out from Pedro Grifol's mouth is Pedro Grifol calls Eloy Jimenez, which I think is a class move. Like, hey, this is great. I know you wanted to play left field.
Did he call during the press conference? Say, hold on.
I gotta loop you in.
I gotta make this call.
I gotta hold on. This is gonna
now.
be great. This will be great if we surprise you in real time here. No, I think it was made, when obviously this was going down in mid-December, but he was finally able to talk about it because the signing became official. Yeah. So he tells Jimenez, I want you to start working on reps in right field. Get working in right field. And Jimenez says, of course, the parting line is whatever's going to help the ball club. That's going to be great, which that's a great answer. That's a wonderful answer. What's Grifol doing? What is he doing? I mean, that is not right. Something somewhere there was a miscommunication, and I think it seemed like everything was moving smooth.
Yeah,
and Grifol maybe went off rogue and was just like, "I got a great idea here," and then someone gave him the video of Eloy playing outfield, and he's like, "Oh no!" And it's that Brian Regan bit where he's trying to take the words and put them back into his mouth, and it's like, "Oh, I can't get so we can't put a lid back on that. Whoops, it's out there."
Oh Lord, can we? Why? Why? It'd be like if I'm Rick Hahn, I look at Pedro and go, take it easy, champ. Why don't you stop talking for a while? That
easy,
line,
big fella. Yeah,
and Rick has been so big on Pedro. They've been having sleepovers and telling stories, fishing trips. They're bosom buddies. They're best friends. Let me tell you a story about my best friend. His name is Pedro Grifol. I think his stock went down a little bit with that comment. God, I hope.
A little worried about that.
We don't see Eloy. I can't imagine it with the hype that's already been, I think self done in terms of the White Sox with Oscar Colas, starting to get the fan base, their minds wrapped around that. This kid's probably going to be your starting right fielder. He answers a lot of questions in terms of lefty power and all that kind of stuff. I would be beside myself, shocked if we get to opening day and the wonderful Gene Honda gets out there and he says, playing right field and batting fifth, Eloy Jimenez. Yeah. I mean, I'll have to be, wearing oops, I crap my pants because I might.
You might just get back to that set it and forget it rotisserie chicken early. You might just get back to the car.
That's it. I got to go watch the chicken.
Yeah. I'd rather keep eye on the chicken here. But Pat, it's a set it and forget it. I know. I said what I said. Well, look, I just hope that was Pedro Grifol just kind of being nice and just like, it's one of those things you feel like you have to say to somebody, like, oh, that haircut, that you look good. That's a good decision. And
You're saying that to a bald person. I know that right now.
I'm not specifically talking to
You're
you.
not, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, I mean, hey, we'll see what happens. But I've also I've gotten used to, if it's starting to be talked about, get ready, because it could be something we realize. If it's already being said, it very well could happen. I wouldn't put it past them to do
Well,
that.
I'm okay if he says it like you're like, in case of emergency, break glass. Like if we've completely run out of everything that we need,
I hope he phrased it like
every
that.
team, every football team has an emergency quarterback, right? And
Yeah.
it could be, your running back or one of your wide receivers so those guys have to be somewhat ready to be in the game. That's how I kind of look at it. Like you're the emergency quarterback.
He's not even my emergency. I mean,
No?
if the legend is still on the team,
I'm
then
talking emergency, like the legend.
the legend's
He's
out.
been
Even
traded.
the legend.
He's been traded. He's been traded to the Yankees.
That would be, well, if
Like we've
that's the
got
case,
nothing. We're
you know
all out
what?
of
If the
options.
legend's not on the team anymore, I think I'd be so hysterical with joy that I might not pay attention too much that Haloy
Who
is
would you
put out.
rather have? Who would
Oh
you
boy.
rather have? One of the guys from the 108, which shout out to the folks that had the
Yeah.
108 day yesterday.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're recovering from your hangovers.
Yeah.
Or would you rather have Aloy play right field? Would you ever, whether one of the three guys from the 108 podcast come down from their luxurious seats there and play right field, or Aloy Jimenez?
I have heard some of Beef Loaf's stories of his ability to play basketball. I think he was an athlete. He can. I've seen he's got some long reach. He's got some arm reach. I
How's
think
his first step? You think he's got a
well,
first step?
that's the question. It's the first step, and that
Yeah.
was the problem with Aloy, among others. It was just he wasn't making that correct move. So I think Beef Loaf can do it. Summer is going to take up space, which is good. You want that, man. You want that. And Teresi, I mean, he's just spry. I think I think he's got the quickness, I think. But it's been a long winter. I haven't seen those guys up close. Yeah. So I don't know what they've been working on.
You can't make a fair evaluation.
I cannot. I can only speak for myself. I could get out there. I could probably do something out there.
I'm sure you can. I know you've got a rocket for an arm. You're like Jay Buhner.
And that's what I would say someone would be complaining about Crochet. What did you trade Garrett Crochet for? You get a rocket for an arm? You don't know what you're doing. My guys were saying Glenn Bortoris. They were high on his bat. So I don't know. There's a lot of question marks, man. But we're closing in on spring training. We really are, and things can still happen. Leading up to that, as we've seen it, and especially if things go wrong, during spring training with injuries. Big article in the Sun Times just recently. Daryl Van Scoven. Another Giolito article, which is a good thing. There was something from The Athletic, which it got me excited about what we could expect from Giolito. And Giolito's admission to things did not go well, obviously. And mistakes were made, and I'm trimming down. I think he was at 280 and he's down to like 250. I think he's 6'6". And he's working on the rotation and like just everything you would hope for, in a pitching mechanic, in a motion that's repeatable. And it sounds like he's on a right path. He's forgetting about that year. And he talked about it's a contract year. He talked about free agency and how that is not going to be on his mind, but that is great to say. But we know it can affect players. We've seen it either way. We've seen some players just like they are so tormented by this, like that this is my year to make big, or I could be traded. And the rumors, the information that they have just cripples them almost. And then you've seen other players use that walk year as I am going to prove it to you. We've seen that from guys like Carlos Rodon. We've seen it from other guys I mean, AJ Brzezinski signed a 1-year deal. We just missed his anniversary back when he signed with the White Sox. That was a 1-year deal, and it was like, prove it deal. And he
Yeah.
proved it, and he was around for a while. And there's so many others. Again, I don't even know if the Sox, knowing their history with signing, re-signing, starting pitchers, I don't even know if they bring Giolito could be up in the Cy Young conversation once again in the top
Yeah.
5. And I don't know if the White Sox open up, the checkbook to bring him back. So, I mean, what do you take from that?
One, it's interesting. You go from 1 year, you go with the focus of bulking up, and that's how I'm going to get better
Yeah.
this year, is being bulked up, and I'm on this weight program, and that's how I'm going to get with power. Right. I think it was all about power in his lower half, and that's what and now this year it's like, okay, that was way off and wrong. I'm going with flexibility, and that's the way he's going to go and attack this year. Again, I hope it helps him, because I hope it helps him feel good physically on the mound, because he just didn't at times look, obviously, right, getting hurt early on in the season.
Yeah.
And I think that was just the beginning of the downfall for him. That was, Billy Mumphrey's downfall, really, was the cockeyed optimism.
Sure.
So, I'm hoping for a healthy pitcher, and I'm hoping that, his stuff improves enough. You would think it should be, Nick, because of his relationship with Ethan Katz. That's why I was really excited about Ethan Katz coming here. It's because of the relationship he and Gio had. And I thought, wow, this is going to take this pitcher that we've seen basically on the come for the last couple of years and just put him in a different stratosphere. And it really hasn't panned out that way. So I'm hoping that relationship that we were looking forward to continuing to grow, as a coach and player thing, be what we want it to be. So, but where was Ethan Katz last year when Gio was talking about doing that? And was it the lockout? He can't talk to guys.
That's the thing. Yeah.
And all of a sudden he shows up and he's like this huge guy. And it's like, why the hell would you do all that?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that
would have been, what a deflating feeling for Giolito. What did you do if the first time they were able to see each other after the lockout, and Gio's like, wait till you see me, I am ready to go. And they like get together, and Ethan Katz is like, what happened to you? You have made a huge mistake. And Giolito thought it was the best thing he could have ever done. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of people have said that. A lot of people were saying that the lockout, caused some inability to connect with pitching coaches, with trainers, what have you. And he went off and did his own thing, and based off information that maybe he had, and something maybe he wanted to try. Maybe he was just like, you know what, I think this is going to give me more power.
What would you say is the most positive of the weight gain?
More power.
Yeah.
And he designs his own costumes as well. So, hey, the flexibility is the biggest thing. I mean, they teach you that in the high school level. And if they're not, it's your core strength. It's, I think pitchers should be doing yoga and all this other stuff. Like, that is where it's at. And of course, repeatable motion. And when you are having lagging or just, you cannot rotate the way you usually can because of other muscles that have been built up. More muscles, more problems. You have more muscles.
That's what I say. Why I stay
you
off
live
oh,
by
yes.
that. You live by
well,
that.
Well, Ozzie Guillen famously always says you can't pull fat.
Does he say that?
Yeah, I believe so.
That.
Maybe it was Ozzie. I'm almost positive it was Ozzie Guillen who says that.
I hope he said that. Hey, that's true. Well, what's right is right. So there's so many guys. You've heard from Lance Lynn and Yasmani Grandal of these bounce back years, like they're getting themselves right, and it's all sounding great. And we're just all foaming at the mouth as Sox fans. I can't wait to see this. It's, for me, it's exciting. I know people are like, how can you even stomach the Chicago White Sox after everything that they've done and the last season that they had and the Reinsdorf stuff? And it is a bitter pill. I get it. And you talk about how people will say to you, what are you even talking about in the offseason? I mean, what is a winning franchise talking about in the offseason, let alone the Chicago White Sox? when you are a diehard fan and you eat, sleep, and drink the Chicago White Sox, you will find stuff. And I'm ready to go. Like I took me, hey, I had to lick some wounds. It was tough after the season ended to stomach what just happened. But I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get hurt
You're
again.
ready? You're ready.
Yeah.
You're always ready to get hurt again. And
Yeah.
you're going to be out at spring
I
training
will
this
be.
year.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to your daily reports into me
Yeah.
and the journal. I'm sure you're going to
Yeah.
take bring a journal
Oh, of course.
and
Yeah.
log your time
Yeah.
out there. That's going to be fantastic, but it'll be here before we know it. I'm excited about it. And again, this team is, I don't think it's complete yet in terms of what we'll see on the field once spring training breaks. But I think now that the holidays are behind us, Nick, any of these rumors that we've heard about, I'd like to think you get some stuff done here again before we get to camp. Doesn't mean you can't still do things once camp breaks, but boy, I think they would like to know what they have going in to get full evaluation of guys and get them in their system and get them in their clubhouse sooner rather than later.
Day one, Graffol's statement from his original press conference. Day one, we're setting the culture, setting the tone, and I love it. I love that mentality. You want everybody involved, and I know people are saying, well, what about the World Baseball Classic? They're going to still be there at the beginning. They're going to get the message, and then they're going to go play some competitive baseball for their country that some of these individuals have not had the ability to. Mm-hmm. They've been denied it, and it's something they've been looking forward to. Godspeed, stay healthy, but I think the competitive nature of that will do the White Sox well and do those players well as they hit the ground running March 30th in Houston. Before we start wrapping up, Adam Engel, Superman, is now a San Diego Padre. Okay.
Who isn't a San Diego Padre, by the way?
They're
if you're not a Met, you're a Padre.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, Danny Mendick, he is with, of course, the New York Mets, and AJ Pollock, which, he took a buyout. He rolled the dice. I think he signed maybe a $7 million deal with the Seattle Mariners. So they have all found homes, and it's just interesting to me that teams that are very competitive, they're going to be in there. They're going to be in the hunt, like the Padres and the Mets are like, yeah, we could use Engel. Absolutely. And we could use Mendick. I think that would help. And the White Sox are like, they just didn't want to. I get it. There's roster situations, and they're trying to use their money in other ways. But I think the Sox could have done something with Mendick, at least create some competition.
You just have an affinity for him because of his mustache, and you're sad to see it go. And I get that.
Well, okay, let's be honest. Yeah. I mean, it was nice to have some,
competition.
Look, there was
nice to have some competition for best mustache on the South Side.
No, he was supporting it. He was confident with it. I'm more upset that Dylan C shaved his. I hope that was just for a little, off-season break. I get it. I had to shave after the season and restart because things were that mustache saw a lot of bad games. You got to just restart sometimes. So.
This is a fresh mustache with a fresh hope and an outlook on 2023. That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. Well, I wish those guys well. It's funny that a second baseman and a right fielder can't find their way on this ball club when we are in need of a second baseman and a right fielder.
Interesting how that
strange.
Works out.
But I wish those guys well, and fantastic legends in their own right on the South Side.
All the best, absolutely all the best to Liam Hendriks, and wishing him, his family, and the folks that are going to be with him through this journey, which he's been very open and honest on Sunday night, and he has been electric for this community, for the team, and shocking news. But all the weird little, is he no longer going to be able to be traded? All that it means nothing when you come down to the health, the well-being of him as a human being and what he's about to battle. So all the best to him and his family.
Yeah, well said. I can't say it any better. So prayers to him and his family for sure.
Folks, really appreciate you spending time with us in the off season, in these cold January weeks, listening to some White Sox chatter. You can find this podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcast. Subscribe. We've got a YouTube channel trying to do more live shows on Sunday nights. We're on Twitter at Good Guys TB. We've got a Facebook fan page, all that great stuff. But a real joy, Pat, as always, talking White Sox baseball with you.
Yeah, love it. And shout out to Joe, who's been with us the whole time
Yeah.
and commenting in the chat. So cheers to you, my friend. And thank you. We look forward to doing it again. Let's do it again next Sunday. What do you think?
I love it. And folks, we're going to try to put that tailgate together with that set it and forget it. So I won't be forgetting about this conversation.
Yeah. We'll just get the generator out there. Hopefully,
Sure.
Get asphyxiated with the smoke, and we'll be just fine. Just get a little.
This sounds wonderful.
Like a rack of lamb or something.
Wonderful. You guys know that they make these grills, right? You can no, we're going to do this, set it and forget it. It's going to be wonderful. Pat Hester, let's do it next week, my friend.
See you, bro.
Folks, always a pleasure. Until next time, for Pat Hester, I am Nick Murawski. Go Sox.